Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Event Marketing Redefined. We are live at Exhibitor Live, day 2. I am here with Kodi Morton. She is from Bruker Optics. She's a senior event marketer. She has a better title than that, but we dumbed it down a little bit. Kodi, welcome, and thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Tell me a little bit why you come to Exhibitor Live.
I love coming to Exhibitor Live because it is one of the places I can go where everybody speaks my language. I don't have to explain to anybody why I'm rolling my eyes about the cost of drayage or why—
Say that louder. Do that again. Say that one more time.
Rolling my eyes at the cost of drayage.
Thank you. Okay, cool. It's awesome.
And everybody
Yeah.
understands the lingo.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to meet with my people.
I love that you said speak my language, right? So we run a podcast normally, and when I have conversations with so many of these senior event marketers, I always joke with my producer on the show. I'm like, they were like, how was that conversation? And I said, well, we're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
easy. So I love you said that, because when you're in this world, it's nice to speak that
Yeah.
language.
Yeah. In a world that has a lot of acronyms, and I'm in the scientific industry, and so there are a lot of acronyms, and even the trade shows have their own
Yeah, they do.
acronyms. And so when we get together as event marketers at Exhibitor Live, we can all talk about acronyms the same way, and we all get it.
Yes. You've been here, you're gold in your certification.
Yep.
So you've been here, you've been doing this. What, at your stage right now, what are you coming here hoping to learn? What's important to you? What are you seeking while you're here?
Well, one of the things that I really love about Exhibitor Live is the trade show floor is always changing. And I don't have a budget that can support the really, really awesome things that are happening at that level, but I can water it down a little bit for my budget. And I really appreciate that the vendors understand a 10 by 10 space, and they are actively trying to help me find solutions that they can provide for a smaller space for a smaller budget. And I can't get that anywhere else. I can't just call a sales guy and get immediate response. I can talk to someone on the trade show floor and really understand what they're talking about because they've got it right there to talk about it.
Yeah, you're learning how to maximize your event marketing program, which is cool.
Exactly.
Very nice. Tell me a little bit about CTSM program, kind of your journey in it, and kind of where you're at now, where you're going.
Certified trade show marketer, and it is amazing how many times I attend Exhibitor Live, and people have attended before and not really clicked into it. The great thing about CTSM is that it doesn't cost any money to join to start working towards certification. If you're already at Exhibitor Live, you already are working on it, whether you know it or not. And you can always go in even later and sign up for certification and retrofit a lot of your classes to the journey.
What, to date, what is the most valuable thing you've learned in the CTSM program?
To date,
Or maybe a
ironically—
few. If it's so good, give me a few.
Ironically, the thing that I learned is that I have value. I didn't realize that I brought value to my industry, to my company, to my division at Bruker until I started talking to other exhibit managers about what they were being required to do. And I realized I am doing a lot of this already, and I didn't realize that it was valuable. So it really did open my eyes to the value that I bring, and it gives a person confidence when you know that you're valuable. You start to own that. And that's important.
I think that's really cool, because we've had some conversations over the last day or two here. Event marketing is a marketing channel.
Yeah.
It's used to drive leads. It's used to build brand awareness. It's used to do a lot of things, right? It's used to push business objectives.
Yeah.
So when it's treated as a channel by people who take it seriously, like yourself,
Yep.
I think it's interesting and cool that you've seen yourself and the value that you bring through that.
Yeah.
Good for you. It's awesome. Any trends you're seeing in trade shows and events?
Well, the one trend obviously is LEDs. They're just really, really hot right now, and we're going to see it so much more. I'm looking forward to when that technology is going to be more available to those with a smaller
More
budget.
affordable, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also more available on a smaller scale.
Yep.
So for a 10 by 10 booth, I might have the budget, but it doesn't make any sense for my booth to have a whole back wall of LED lights.
Yeah.
But if you make it scalable so that I could use it on a tabletop, on a wraparound pillar or a column, a much smaller version,
Yeah.
I think that that's really going to pay off. And the other thing that I'm noticing, Matt, is that some of the old school stuff is new again. The graphics are big and eye-catching, and the gamification is
Gamification's big.
really still big. And I think because after COVID, everybody was doing everything on their phones, and we were allowing ourselves to have a little bit more fun during work time
Yeah.
because work time looked so differently.
Yep.
I think gamification is attracting an older audience as well, not just the
Interesting.
young audience that's used to gaming all the time. The older audience is starting to catch in because they're like, oh, I play Wordle on my phone. You're
Yeah.
doing a word game. I enjoy that. I
Oh.
can connect with that.
I think that's a really cool take that you just put out there, which is that gamification with the technology as it is evolving is very, very cool. I just had a guy named Itan on. He owns Pop Shop Interact.
Oh, okay.
Pop Shop. I always mess that up for him. Interactive, and they provide all these like digital solutions, but essentially like it's all interactive, engaging. It's gamification and things, and the older generation is now so into phones, and the technology's caught up with them a little bit. And I think that's true.
Yeah.
When you have gamification, you can tie it into your booth and your theme and your value prop and the problem you solve for a customer.
Yep.
You can do some cool stuff and everybody will play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really strong point.
Absolutely.
Tell me more about CTSM program, right? Why should more young event marketers get involved?
So the great thing about the Certified Trade Show Marketer program is that it speaks to people that are just out of school. Maybe they don't have a marketing degree with all the COVID shutdowns and all of the people even that graduated 20 years ago, 30 years ago from college. Their marketing degree, they're dusting it back off to start a third or a fourth career. And so getting certified through CTSM with Exhibitor Group is really beneficial because it goes through a university certification program. So you're actually taking a required number of courses. It's not just a graduate house, you know, it's just not a document house where they're just giving it out. You actually have to go through the steps, and there's a giant test at the end, which after I took the giant test, I was like, I told my husband, I feel like I earned something after this crazy big test.
Good for
And
you.
then you put together a portfolio, and that really underscored for me the ability to feel like I am bringing something to the table, because it was one time, I don't have a marketing degree, I have an English education degree. So it was one time I was able to put all of my marketing knowledge together, and that was knowledge that I'd gained both at Exhibitor and through webinars and through other trainings that I've taken, but I put it all together into a piece of into a document that really felt like something at the end.
You know, one of the narratives and stories that I've sort of been talking about and hearing from event marketers is a lot of event marketers get thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
They're a marketer or they're sort of an associate type level person at a company.
Yep.
And one day their boss walks in and says, here's the event program.
Yeah.
Hey, we need you to execute a trade show.
Yep.
And I think there's really no education for it per se.
Right.
There's event type stuff, but not
Right.
event marketing, not the level of stuff you're talking about at the CTSM program.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, I think, a struggle. I think CTSM is a great program.
Yeah.
More people need to know about it.
Absolutely.
And there needs to be more education.
And the people that attend Exhibitor Live already are getting a taste of the program. They really should be sure to sign up for the program because they're already doing the work.
Yeah.
The other nice thing about the certification is they're always adding new sessions. So there are a core bunch of sessions you have to take. And those are everything from basics of understanding drayage, understanding the legal primer. why you have to make sure that you're doing specific things, understanding paperwork, understanding ROI and how to
Yes.
turn in paperwork to your internal stakeholders. It's important to be able to fill out all of that paperwork, especially if you're thrown into it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, though, you have to understand why you're doing that to make it worth it.
So 2 things on that. I have 2
Yeah.
things for you. I'll get back to that one.
Yeah.
Well, but I have a good question for you. What's the best session you've ever been in? Like most valuable,
Oh
best
my
session that you were just like, wow, this is
gosh.
like such good stuff.
I have to say one of my first sessions was my best session, led by Candy Adams, and someone else leads it now. And it was the basics. It was a 2-part class. It was the basics of event planning, because just like you're saying, I was kind of thrown into doing it.
You build a foundation.
And I understood the basics of the paperwork, but I didn't understand the breadth of what I was going to see. And I realized, oh, I am not doing that right. But nobody told me I wasn't doing it right because it was sufficient.
Yep.
And so that was one of the basic classes for Kodi, 7 years ago. It was an eye-opening experience.
So that quote that you just said, nobody told me I wasn't doing it right because it was sufficient.
Yeah.
That is excellent, because I do think what happens is people like yourself that don't have the education, the background,
Right.
the execution expertise to go do it.
Yeah.
You want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly.
then I'll bet some nerves probably settle in.
Yeah.
When you're handed a trade show program, you're like, so it becomes kind of a, not bare minimum, but like you're just trying to make sure everything just goes smooth.
Yeah,
versus
exactly.
the high level stuff that you're now talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. There's a supreme difference between the way I was handling trade shows before. Before, the way I was handling trade shows was I was an order person. I placed all the orders and I made sure that the tablecloth was in the right spot and they had the literature. And now I am an event marketer.
I love that.
I'm actually reaching out to people I know that are going to be at the show ahead of time and trying to make those connections and trying to make sure that they're coming. And I'm also evaluating what we're doing at the show. We're not sending brochures anymore.
Doing so much more.
Yeah, we're doing so much more.
Kodi, that was excellent. When you said nobody told me I was doing it right, it's such a narrative that we are trying to figure out how to solve, how to get support to event marketers. How can we, as the people that you come to work with, that you rely on, how can we be more supportive? How can we help educate? How can we, get you from a place of being like, oh, I just need to get this, done and it's got to look good, to, hey, let's go execute together and let's push your event marketing program forward. So
One
good to hear.
One thing that I would really love for all of my future vendors to know is I want you to make me look good. What are you offering that's going to make me look good? Maybe it's just you're offering a little extra time to fill out an extra form or to make sure that you've got someone that's going to be on site. I'm a 10-foot booth, but I've had vendors before say, I've got a big jumbo booth there, so I'm going to have labor. If you need help setting up this little kiosk thing that you've not done before, let me know and you can hire some labor from my guy that's going to be on the show floor.
So funny you said that. Pablo, who produces the show, we talk all the time about this stuff, and he uses this phrase, path to promotion town.
There you go.
He's like, Matt, as a company that provides exhibits and strategy and design and the logistics, he said, like, you're in the business of getting your clients promotions.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. Of
totally
like, how can you
true.
set that tone? And that's what you're asking. You're saying, how can you make my life easy?
Yeah.
And get me to that next level and add that value?
Because if I don't have to follow you around like I do my kids, making sure you shut the light off, close the drawer, close the door. Why is the door wide open? If I don't have to follow my vendor around and say, did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
Did you order that? It allows me time. It frees up my time to do some of those forward-thinking things that make me look better.
Well, Kodi, the CTSM program's lucky to have you.
Thank
this
you.
industry's lucky to have you. I mean, some absolutely great nuggets here.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on the show, and it's awesome to meet you.
Yeah, it was great to meet you too. Anytime.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.
Yep.